Welcome. Thank you for coming. This is the Inventing Knowledge podcast from the Center for Interacting Minds, Societies, and Environments at Nicholas Copernicus University. Today we have Anupam Singh as our guest on this podcast. This is the fourth episode, and we're going to be talking about a lot of really interesting things, especially like the future of food, permaculture, community supporting agriculture, and whether CSAs, which we are talking about as potentially the future of food, can support the rising food needs of the world. So we hope that you'll stick around and see you.
Thank you, Brett.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for having me here. I'm Anupam Singh from India. I did my PhD from National Institute of Technology. Before that, I was in industry. I served a company called MNG Impex for 3 years before joining academia. So I completed my PhD in 2017. I worked a couple of years in a university in India before coming here, Poland, for postdoctoral research. My main area of current research is food sustainability and sustainable food consumption. I use big data and machine learning techniques to understand consumer better.
Why you find this topic? I mean, obviously it's very important, but tell us what attracted you in particular to this topic?
Because food is one of the important aspect of human life.
Yeah.
Because I believe we are what we eat.
Absolutely.
We are what we eat.
Yeah.
So we need to be more conscious about choosing particular food. So these days I see a lot of adulation in the food, particularly use of chemical pesticides, fertilizer, which is not safe for the human health and the environment. That's why I found this topic really interesting. At least I feel that my research could help something in that. Like I promote organic farming, which embraces the environment, human health, local economic development.
I think it's over the next 50 years, it's going to be one of the biggest, most important things, water and food. I mean, really.
Yeah, even I believe so. What last development I see in the agriculture and food industry, that is green revolution. But yes, we learn to produce a lot, but at the cost of human health and environment. We learn to use more chemical fertilizer and pesticide, and which is costing us more.
Yeah.
So I think organic farming is the way forward, wherein we can just take care of our health and we can take care of our environment.
How do you link or use the text analysis, big data to further that goal?
Earlier, even my research was based on survey method. So there was some limitations, like I can talk to few people, few hundred people. And in the research, higher the data, better is the result. So I find a great opportunity to use big data tools in understanding consumer. So in the age of information technology, everyone leaves digital footprint. So they use social media to express their views. So I found Twitter as a gold mine of data for my research. I collected around 50,000 tweets on organic food. So people talk about, different aspect of organic food. They talk about turning to seasonal foods. They talk about eating healthy food. They talk about turning to plant-based food. So these were very interesting finding from the large pool of data. So otherwise we were, stick to certain geography, or we can collect data from certain cities, certain number of people. So at least through big data and these advanced techniques, I can surpass these limitations.
But I'm a psychologist. It's another huge limitation, like bringing people into the lab or doing a survey. As you said, it's really limiting the number of people that you can talk to, and it's, as you said.
Yeah, it is very costly either.
Absolutely,
like, very
sure.
costly, and it consumes a lot of time. So better, like everyone is free to write on the social media.
Yeah.
And it is very good time to understand your people from these text data.
Yeah. And I think even coming into the lab, it can kind of change their behavior. And, I think we know
Yes,
about these
because
things.
they
Yeah.
can share their views, more freely on
Yeah.
these platforms. So
Yeah.
when you invite in the lab setting, they manipulate their views. So this free opinion serves unbiased result.
And so, what are the projects that you're working on?
At the center, we are working on two different projects. The first one is related to community supported agriculture, and the second one, we are working on organic food consumption. So the first one, organic community supported agriculture, we are trying to understand the motivations and barriers to joining a CSA.
Can you say a little bit what is a CSA and
Community supported agriculture is a practice wherein the producer, that is farmers, and the consumer come together, and they take part in risk and benefits in the process itself. So basically, in CSA, consumer, purchase a share. That is, we call it crop sharing. So before the food is produced, you purchase a certain share of the crops. Maybe we call it food boxes. So ultimately, this process, this practice shares the risk and also enjoy the benefits. The farmer, they have the cash flow in advance. At least consumer would know where their food come from. So this is absolutely very important. At least we don't know where the food and how is the food.
yeah?
We eat fruits for health benefit or vegetable for health benefits, but we don't know what exactly how nutritious these foods are because of these chemicals, fertilizers. Either they are grown in different climates, because eating local food is always good for your health, because in the those food would always support your health, which is produced in the local climate. This is as per the scientific finding. So at
And
least,
green in terms of just not shipping it 100 miles or 100
yeah,
kilometers. It makes sense.
it saves the economic cost. It saves the environment, because ultimately you avoid transportation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you say something about the? It's a little bit more expensive, from my understanding.
Yeah, if you look at the current study, even the prices of that box, what you call it, share, it is bit higher than the conventional, the food packages. But of course, you get very healthy food.
Yeah.
But even I see in the long run, when there is a is large scale of the CSA food production, due to economy of scale, the prices would go down.
Yeah.
The biggest barrier at the moment with CSA is less choices, because they are small CSAs, they cannot provide variety.
Yeah.
And second is the price. So these are the biggest barrier. But when you have more number of CSAs, then of course the per unit production would go down. You bring a variety of food in the basket. The challenge is how to scale up this CSA number of CSAs or CSA food productions. So I see that if these producers, small producers, come together, because suppose you produce potato, I produce meat, and someone else produce other vegetable. So we as a producer can form a cooperative, and then we present as a one cooperative to the consumers. So they will all, we all three would make up one CSA. You produce different vegetable, I produce different vegetable or fruits, such that the consumer get complete food package.
Yeah.
So this is the way possible.
Yeah. And I can also imagine part of the price difference is that the farmer makes a living wage. I think my understanding is that a lot of the money that a farmer makes now goes into the input costs. So the farmer has to buy chemicals to put on and then the farmers, they try to use scale to make up. So they make 1 cent per tomato that they grow or something like that. So they have to grow 1 million tomatoes, whereas a CSA farmer can make 10 cents.
Because you can produce when you are farming in a cooperative way.
Yeah.
So you can produce where whatever you are good at. If you are good at producing bulk amount of tomato, go and produce. I'm good at producing potato. I can do that. So in this way, the per unit the cost of production would go down, and yes, and then consumer would get variety of food products, and this would be one of the obvious solution.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, consumer behavior, like, so everyone loves avocado, for instance, but you can't grow avocado in Poland, for instance. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, of course, it is bit difficult to say, and it is in the globalized world. For example, I came from very different continent.
yeah.
Even sometime I crave for my own
Yeah,
food, then
yeah.
I buy online, and
Yeah.
these foods are imported foods.
Yeah.
So this is globalization is a challenge for sticking to a local food. Otherwise, suppose I'm staying here for a long time, I will not have my own food. So sometimes we are bound because of this globalization, but we can reduce this by making consumer aware about going for local foods.
I want to talk to you and get your thoughts about the future of food. So, in my understanding, I mean, I think a lot of the population, there's more and more trends towards city living, and there's more and more trends towards people not growing their own food. And I think that we're developing into a system where, let's say the oil runs out, or let's say, you know, the Gulf states don't want to export oil anymore. Suddenly there's no transportation to get food into the grocery stores. Now, how are all these people in the city going to get food? You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a big water shortages. Water is a huge problem. It's becoming a bigger problem as we speak every year. So I want to get your thoughts as somebody who's thought about this a lot on how we can develop a more sustainable, more effective, potentially more community-based food system. And what do you think? I mean, what do you see as the future of food?
Probably you would be surprised to know that 1/3 of greenhouse gas emission comes from the agriculture, and the the agriculture is more livestock intensive. So if you look at the consumption, like 2 billion people primarily live on meat-based food, 4 billion on crop-based food. So they eat, their main intake is vegetable, fruits, and so on. But if you reverse this figure, see, that means 4 billion people on meat-based food and 2 billion on crop-based food. You would need twice as much as more land to feed these people.
Yeah.
Whereas production of 1 kg meat, if you compare one production of 1 kg meat with 1 kg crop-based food, at least 10 to 15 times water needed, even 10 to 15 times to produce 1 kg of meat. So you dedicate many fold natural resources to produce a kg of meat. So our through our research, our purpose should be to push more and more consumers towards plant-based food. It's not just kind of morality against animal, or or any other thought. It's reality that if you look at the calorie, that energy, So we get 18% of calorie from the meat-based food. Remaining 82% comes from the crop-based food. When you take protein, so you get 30% protein from entire meat production. Remaining you get from the crop-based food. So it is more sustainable way of food style, which will also benefit your health as well as environment. So we need to work on these particular, the food habit, food style.
How do we get people to transfer to a more crop-based diet? I mean, earlier we were talking about algae or worms, or my approach actually is I think people should grow their own food, and I think that they should know. I think it does a lot of things. So once you know where that chicken came from or where that beef came from, you had to kill it yourself. I think you're much more like, I know how much work went into this. I know that there's a life behind this. So I think you're a little bit more not just eating processed food that comes out of the grocery store that, you know, every day you eat a ham sandwich or something like that and you don't think where it came from. Well, how do you think we make people understand this, or how do we get people to understand, is it a process of showing them that? I don't know, PETA, for instance, it's like a animal welfare group, PETA. They do a lot of these kind of more scare tactics. I don't know that, another thing I want to say was pushing. I don't know if pushing is, I think we want to say maybe nudging.
Pushing in terms of creating more awareness about the benefits of the adopting plant-based food. So once you create awareness, people do not know that the entire agriculture pollute that much environment.
I don't know. I kind of feel like they don't care. People don't care, I think, about the environment that much, or they wouldn't drive.
Because people don't care, because we live in reality of desert. Because we have been away from villages, we don't know how farming happens. So we live in apartments, we live in cities, we know about shopping mall, but we don't know how the food is grown. So once you create awareness, people of course would turn. Everybody is conscious or careful about health. So at least if they won't care about environment, they will care about their health.
I think that's very
So
true.
yes. So of course people started caring about environment as well, because we see climate change everywhere. Asia, Europe, Africa, everywhere. So when we spread these masses, of course, it will influence consumer behavior. Yes, and because consumers are empowered, now what is happening? The companies are just ruling market. So here, but power lies in the hand of consumers, but we don't utilize. The companies will produce what is demanded. When you change the consumer, if you spread the masses, the benefits of turning towards plant-based food, of course people would listen. Well, they would change their behavior, because look at clinical reports, you'll find that if you eat excessive meat, it will lead to different diseases. Obesity is one. It may lead to cancer, because when you look at human system, it requires a lot of energy to digest the meat food. But you would realize when you eat fruits particularly, you can digest within 2 to 3 hours. It get digested in human system.
Easier.
So, and of course it produces more energy in the body, because it mingles in your digestive system and human body. So, and this is medical reports. So that is why even change is happening. Change, if you look at the data, more and more people are turning towards the vegan food.
Yeah, definitely. You can, I see that for sure. And do you see CSA as the best solution? I mean, you talked about cities and living in apartments and things like that. I mean, I really think that's one of the main problems. Like the major economic opportunities are in cities, and then they don't have the opportunity to.
Yeah, CSA is could be one solution because it's not about purchasing one food basket. At least you can share your labor as well because in free time like Saturdays and Sunday you can go in the field, you can contribute your labor there, you can work there. Of course, you may get some discount also. So through this process, at least you'll be connected how food is produced. You'll be sensitive towards the environment. And apart from that, of course, you'll get healthy food,
Exercise.
food that you produce. Because
Yeah, if you go to the grocery store, pretty much the only steak that you can buy is from Argentina. So, and Argentina is literally in South America, and we're in the middle of Europe. So it's like that meat had to be raised, and how much greenhouse gases were emitted? Probably not that much, but it's like it had to be put on a truck, had to be put on a ship, it had to be put on another truck, all the way around the world, literally as far as possible from the world. You know what I mean? Like, and I just don't see it as a reasonable thing to do.
it's something to do with supply chain. We must cut short the supply chain. Like production is happening one part of the world, consumption is happening other part of the world.
Absolutely.
That can be minimized.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
It's about strategy. It's about being conscious about the environment.
Yeah, and a lot of these things are factory farms, so they have like 1,000 cows in one big warehouse, right? And then they poop and they pee there, so they're getting all kind of disease. You have to have a big old tractor to bring in the hay, so you have to have these fields for hay. They have a tractor to go out and cut the hay. Then they have a tractor to bring the hay to the cows. Then the cows stay there, they're all diseased. Then they have somebody come in and scoop the poop up, bring it back to the field. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Industrialization of this livestock is also not good for the human health, and the environment also. So earlier it was not like that. Everyone was like reducing food.
You were telling me we had lunch some days ago, and you were telling me that in India often people have a cow. Each family has a cow, and they don't eat the cow because it's like religious reasons, but they drink milk from the cow. Please tell me.
Yeah, because yes, of course, traditionally in the villages particularly, each family would have animal, particularly cows, because again, it's like a complete cycle. Like they will feed from the crop residues, and they will have milk. And of course, their dung and all is used for manure. So it's just using the entire the cycle.
Yeah, you were even telling me like you said something like you put their dung, their manure in a Please tell me about that. Tell us about that.
So yes, because I remember in particularly my village, I think there was biogas. So, and it was installed at my house. So I'm amazed, like it worked for 15 years. So
tell us about it.
Oh,
I mean,
because whatever cow dung we used to have, we used to put in that particular one kind of
container.
Treatment. So you put that, you mix up with the water, and it create the gas for cooking, for lighting. And how you can say, and the cost of installing entire system was maybe at that time 1,000 zloty.
Which is not a lot of money.
Yes, it is not that much. And this the gas was used for 15 years. We never bought cooking gas. And sometimes if we have excess gas, we used we use for lighting. So this was cost effective.
Yeah, it sounds really awesome. I mean, the cow, it eats the grass, so you don't have to cut the grass.
Yeah.
You don't have to throw your food waste. You don't have to have a big garbage truck come and take your food away and take it to a big dump. It's making milk for you, so you don't need a whole factory farm and people that bring to the grocery store and that kind of stuff. I mean, I see it as really a solution, the solution. I think there is some downside in terms of the time that it takes because if everybody needs to make their own milk, it's like then they don't have time to be computer programmers and things like that. And I think it's like, you don't have so much time for research, maybe. I don't know. But what do you think about that? I don't know.
Yes, of course, particularly the context in India is a bit different because this agriculture sector implies around 50 to 60%.
Okay.
Yeah, we have like 50% of arable land, which is quite higher. The many countries would have like 20%, 30% of total land, which can be used for the agriculture. So there, because we are very natural rich, because we have different weather, because we can grow different crops all through the years, you know.
Yeah.
So there particularly we all with the agriculture, every houses in the village would have some kind of animal because they use in agriculture, I said either for milk or sometimes they use in the other agricultural activities. Way back we never used to have tractors, so for the plowing they use these bulls and all, and the buffaloes. So it was like part of entire production and consumption process.
Yeah. So Alex, our cameraman, has also a good question. I mean, he was wondering, and I think it's a very good question as well. Can CSAs support the world's food needs? Because potentially it's not as efficient, it's more expensive, and especially, as he suggested, as he said.
But again, I'll interrupt.
Please.
Why it is more expensive? Because the food someone is producing for us.
Yeah.
If it is through the collaboration, like through the engagement of the consumer, why it is getting more costlier? Particularly, it shouldn't be costly because it is being produced by someone. Suppose if it is not CSA, you are a farmer, you are producing, you are selling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now you turn into CSA. Why the food prices are going up? It shouldn't, because your per unit cost is same, but prices are, because this is a new method in the beginning, because you are delivering maybe to the door steps, and initially there are less number of members. So because you need to cover your cost, so when the size grows, you'll have more number of members buying your food. If you can sell your entire produce, of course you can make money. And when it becomes at large scale, because more and more people join it, they can contribute in the production. At least they will save the what they pay for the hiring the people in the field. So these cost may go down over a certain period. Yeah, when this CSA particularly grows up.
So do you see farmers markets as an alternative solution? Because I can imagine, and I know that when we were having lunch, we were talking about how some people leave CSAs because they don't like so they get they purchase a share, but then they get tons of potatoes and tons of onions, but no guacamole.
Yeah, because this is the one of the barrier to CSA, because there is a lack of choices, because you are a small producer, you cannot produce the variety of food. So being a small CSA, this is one of the limitation. Again, all stuck with that scale of production. If you are bigger CSA, you can produce variety of the crops. You can provide fruits plus vegetable. So again, as I mentioned earlier, if you combine with different producers, again you can minimize this issue of getting one particular vegetable or or fruit. So this can be handled by the cooperation of farming a producers cooperative. You will be member of one CSA, but there will be multiple producers, so that you can get variety of foods.
Yeah. Do you see that as a new middleman? I mean, so Alex's comment was about wind, for instance. It's maybe the best solution, maybe not, but it can only handle something like 20 to 30%, at least at this point, of our electrical needs. Is it possible? Do you foresee a time or a future where we can get 50% of our food from CSAs?
In my opinion, it is too early to predict, such thing, because it is. I think I see we need to go very long way to conclude that to what percent of the people can be incorporated in this the practice. So, but of course, because of globalization, again there would be, because in the Torun we have people from many different places, so it is very hard to restrict someone, because they may need food from their city, from their place, from their country. At least the our efforts should be to minimize the damage, because if you don't spread this kind of, the damage would be more. So our efforts should be to bring as many people as we can.
So hopeful.
Yeah.
Probably it can happen. For now, we just want as many people as possible.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it makes sense.
Sometimes we get understanding on the way, because it's just beginning, because we hardly, as per my knowledge, as per the latest report, there are 10 to 12 CSA in Poland, just 10 to 12. So we need to go very long way in terms of this kind of agriculture production practice.
So just to wrap up this very interesting interview, really, in podcast, I wanted to ask you, and I think especially you have very interesting experience about the differences between India and Europe. There are, I think, several to many Indian researchers looking maybe to come to Europe, and I think that they can be very interested in your experience in terms of the hurdles, the good things, bad things, everything that you think, And you were just telling us about differences in teamwork or work styles, so please tell us.
Yeah, the major, the difference I see is working at the group. In my earlier association with the Indian University, so we used to work, individually, because you make collaboration outside the university, having similar research interest. When I came here at our center, we have group of people with a similar research interest, so it makes sense. And particularly our group is multicultural. We have researchers from 5 different country. So apart from research, we learn many things in a group. So this is kind of very different thing for me.
My impression at least is that there's more paperwork to be done here maybe than in the US. I think is that your experience as well?
After coming Poland.
I know we're both waiting for our residence permits.
Actually, of course, we suffered because of this lengthy paper process, because I have international friend across the Poland, because some of my friend maybe from different country, so they are based in Warsaw, some of them are in Poznan, but every researcher has same problem, that we are waiting for residence card. We cannot just move outside the Poland, because we are researchers. Sometimes we need to go, because some of my friends, they are working in the lab, but they have collaboration with a different lab outside Poland. They are screaming that we are stuck for 7 to 8 months because of this lengthy process. if it eases bit, I think it will be quite good for the international researchers.
So that's at least one thing that you can expect is
Yes,
paperwork.
on the behalf of all the international researchers, I place that this process at least get smooth and like it shouldn't take 8 to 9 months to get a card in 21st century, because this country Poland is putting a lot of effort in making higher education more internationalized.
Definitely, yeah.
So this is the
Yeah.
one thing that need to be changed. So
And he has a
those-
1-year contract, or at least for the first, so it's like, what's the point of even having the,
yes,
You know what I
you
mean?
get at the end of your contract.
Yeah.
Now get the card and go.
yeah. It doesn't make sense.
It's in 21st century if it is taking
Yeah.
like when I was coming here, so the same police embassy in India, I got my visa in 5 days, 4 days.
Yeah.
So how quick there like they were the police only, but I don't know why it is happening here.
Yeah. Yeah, I also don't know what the situation
They
is.
are quite cooperative. Even
Yeah, they were friendly when I went to the
here.
office.
So I
Yeah.
remember one guy, Carolina, someone. So I was having one document missing there in India. So she called me, Anupam, you may get negative result because you do not have attached one document. So immediately I went and took photocopy and attached. So how cooperative they are. So within 4 days I got my visa. Here, if you apply renewal of your visa, again it will take 5 to 6 months. So I applied. I was supposed to go home this May, but because of this, I couldn't go.
Is it not possible with the stamp in your passport? When I did mine, they put a stamp. They said he at least applied. Did they do that for you?
But
Yeah,
my
it's not the
visa
same.
is already expired.
Yeah.
Because they take 8 to 9 months. So suppose you got visa for 6 months. This process takes 9 months.
Yeah.
So even I don't have valid visa. So I'm waiting for anything. If you ask, they just send the letter from the ordinary post.
Yeah.
So later you write the letter, you post it, they will receive, and they will again send the letter. So you have taken our email, you have our messages. Like the COVID vaccination, we get messages.
Yeah.
So for that you can send message. These are the documents are missing.
Yeah.
So now for that they will send the letters, and they'll expect that you'll reply through the letters only. So in the age of information technology, they are going by traditional way. So that's why taking, because they need to send application to security guard, someone. So again they will send letter. So this letter moves, and that's why it takes 8 to 9 months. This is very horrible because we have some of the postdoc, they did PhD in France. They said it took hardly 2 months there, and I have been waiting for 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
This is really tough for us. Like I can't go
Doesn't
for
make
any
sense.
conference or workshop or anything. So this is really.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for
you
coming.
for having me here.
Yeah, it was super interesting and a pleasure to talk to you. So
Thank you so much.
once again, this is my name is Brett. This is Anupam Singh. This is the Inventing Knowledge podcast from the Center for Interacting Minds, Societies, and Environments at the Nicholas Copernicus University in Torun, Poland. Thank you very much for coming. We hope to see you next time.